Welcome to the surprising world of book Randonauts. So let's get started here with a brief introduction. Randonauting is a term for random exploration and those who engage upon randonauting or randonauts. I've done a video about this before, covering randonauting when applied to food, where I put together different random combinations of food and then tried cooking one. So now I'm going to apply the concept to another application. This time I'm going for books. How will I go about this? Well, let's dig into the procedure, shall we? So I'm going to again use Python. Now this time I'm going to create random ID locations for nonfiction. They're going to be in the Dewey Decimal System, so I'm going to generate 5 random numbers, so from 0 to 9, combine them to the Dewey Decimal format, 0, so going to be 3 numbers and a decimal point, and then 2 more. Then finally at the end, I'm going to add an L or R indicator, and that'll make sense in a moment here. Now for fiction, it won't be Dewey Decimal, it'll be the last name of the author. So I'm going to generate 3 random letters from A to Z and combine them to the format of 3 letters here. And this is fairly low level. I'll also add an L or R. This is very low level. I could obviously do more nuanced code to have better approximations of IDs, call numbers for books, but this is good enough for my purposes. Now with either of these, I'm going to find the closest book to the right or left of that random ID location. So if a number, say, is 900, I'd look it up, and then there's probably not going to be a book that's exactly 900. So depending on if I have an L or R, I'll look immediately to the right or the left to get the book. Now then, my targets. I will generate 10 nonfiction IDs and 3 fiction IDs for each of the following 3 categories. 1 sci-fi fantasy, 2 DVDs, because my library has a DVD section and it fits well enough with the randomization. And then 3 juvenile fiction, kind of mix things up, go to a section I really don't use. And then ultimately, when I've found all these books and DVDs, I'll pick one of them to check out, the most winsome, interesting, etc. I'll sit back and let Python generate the random IDs, get those numbers flowing. And here are my results. So our 10 nonfiction and 3 each of juvenile, sci-fi, and DVDs. So I'm just going to again note here. So here's the number here. I'm going to shoot for that at the library. And then once I kind of get that number, depending on whether it's a left or a right, I'll look to the left of the bookcase or the right of the bookcase to select the closest book. Same thing with here, but these are the letters. Okay, let's get to the library and do some book perusing. Starting out in the science fiction section, I'm going to find where my number is, and I'm going to use a little piece of paper to help me keep track. So sci-fi, that was the closest, and I'm going to look to the right of this, and here's my book. Going on, again, using my little paper to get my location, looking up, and it's going to be to the left. And our final one for here, again, it is going to be to the left. Okay. I will do the same sort of thing for my movies. Got my little paper here. We'll be off here to the left. Another movie. Looks like we're on to the right this time. Pull that out. And for our third one, down here in the X's, We have movie to the left. All right, you get the point. I'll skip right over to judging instead of looking at the other book shelves. So, with our science fiction, we start out with Twilight Watch. It looks like it's part of a series along with, I guess, Night Watch and Day Watch. I think it's things with like vampires and supernatural, so okay. Next, we have a Jim Butcher, Shadowed Souls, other authors. Looks like these are a collection of short stories. So I have never read Jim Butcher, but I know he's a popular author. So maybe this would be a good start with just some short stories. And then our final one here is, again, David Weber, another older author I know is well known. I haven't really read any. Again, these look like a collection of short stories. Hey, 2 short stories. Maybe this should be a good time to get into these authors. Switching over to DVDs, we have If Beale Street Could Talk, never heard of it. Ned Kelly, never heard of it, not particularly interested. And X, I'm going to nix that, no thank you. So movies were kind of a bust. Let's look at juvenile fiction. We have Wolven, I think this is part 2 in like a werewolf young adult novel, kids novel. Kind of meh. Then we have another fantasy series, Hollow Pucks. Kind of looks like a school animals Nevermore series. Kind of Harry Potter ripoff. I'm sure they're fine. Final one was Spy History. This is actually pretty cool. Kind of mission. There's all sorts of like decoder rings based on true history. So that's kind of a cool find. That's pretty neat. All right, our biggest selection, our 10 nonfiction. Let's get started here. So we have Don't Get Too Comfortable. It's kind of like things with first world problems, coach class, sort of like musings. I mean, it sounds okay. I'll kind of put it up here as potentials. Evidence of the Afterlife, the Science of Near-Death Experience. This is really kind of cool. I like that. Put that up there. We have Being Logical, A Guide to Good Thinking. So, math, logic, that sort of thing. Nothing too standouty, so I'll kind of put it over there. We have, look at that, Spinoza. So philosophy, I'll put that up there. That's of interest. Okay, Study Guide of Ephesians, which is always good, but I'm not really in the market for a general Christian study guide right now. Okay, Surviving Personal Bankruptcy, even less relevant. Sweeping Changes to Bankruptcy Law, I'll put that on not right now. The Disappearance Student. I've actually heard really good things about this. The Periodic Table of Elements, I think this is definitely a potential. Ferns and Allies of the North Woods, not quite of interest. Brickflix. I've actually checked this one out before. This was a fun one, so put it over there because I already checked it out. And Dante, the Inferno, great. However, I have it and I've already read it, so I don't need to check it out for now. So of the 4, I'm going to be checking out The Disappearing Spoon. Thanks for joining me on this adventure. Brace yourselves for awesome, and don't get lost in the Randoverse.